ain't going back. Not gonna buy into all that. Hey, hey, ain't gonna hide. Gonna let all the fears slide. Got Mother Nature is on my side. Got all of the loving growing inside.
Have our next guest coming up soon. Jared George should be with us at any moment. He is going to be releasing his new song, which maybe I will try and play in a minute, but he seems to not be here just yet, so I will talk a little more. So if anybody has any questions maybe for us right now, anybody wants to come on and talk for a few minutes, perhaps they can come up and join us and see what they have to share in our live virtual platform here. Let's see. Ho ho.
Hey. I thought I would join you as the platform sponsor and maybe
Excellent.
Give your users a little quick rundown on some of the features that they can do, because this is kind of a unique platform. So yeah, in case you guys haven't gotten the full tour yet, if you look above, not us, but to the side of us, live rooms, chat, attendees, polls, Q&A. So you can go in the live room. There's a lounge where you can meet with each other and chat on the side. And in the attendees, you can send each other messages, save each other's info to your profile, so you can continue to contact each other and have a discussion even after this event is done. It'll be in a reception mode, and so in between events, the community stays live. Essentially, you can come in and use it as a way to network with each other.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
No problem. I will.
Well, he's helping us out in the background and in the foreground. So if anybody has any technical questions, please leave them here. We're happy to make a better experience for all of us. This is our first one, so forgive any hiccups. And I appreciate everyone. And I've seen that Jared is ready to come on, and we're going to attempt to play his new song, What's Inside Us, very soon. And Riel, thank you for joining us and letting us know how to better use the system.
No worries, Lorenzo. I'll see you later. And anybody who has any questions, just message me through the attendees. My name's Riel.
Yeah. All right. So we are going live shortly with Jared George of the Great Order. Jared, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you so much for joining us here. I'm not sure you got the last message before we came on, but I was told from Riel, who's helping us out here, best if you can play the song from your end and then we would hear it. I would mute myself. Is that possible? Do you have it on your desktop there? And you could play it as loud as possible for everyone to hear the new song, and then we can have some questions and answers. I'm very much looking forward to sharing this. I listened to it and I was very inspired. So I'm actually very honored that it's pretty much the first place, almost the first place where Jared is releasing his new song, What's Inside Us, from the Great Order.
Yes, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lorenzo, for having me. I don't know if anyone's caught some of the prelude interviews we've done, a short one and a long one over the last couple of weeks in anticipation of today. But it's nice to be here. Lorenzo reached out to me about a year and a half ago, right at the very beginning of that fateful year of 2020, and was kind enough to republish some articles and poems that I'd written on my site, republish them on New Agora. We got to chatting and seeing where the points of synergy were. So it's nice to be here with this new experiment you're doing, bringing all these people together. I did respond. I know you've probably been busy today putting all this together. I know what that's like to do an event and do double and triple checks at the last minute right before you're about to go live. My experience is you're not really going to hear it that well if we're not streaming it, actually streaming the file, if I'm just going to play it and you're going to hear it through my microphone. So I'm happy to use this as just a little way to maybe introduce it, talk about my music in general a little bit, but most people here probably don't know me. So I know, we can talk about that a little bit, but it might be more pertinent to talk about the themes around it I think that that would be probably more useful to the people listening today. I'm happy to use this as just a way to build some anticipation. The song and an accompanying video will be out very, very soon. It's called What's in Us. It's my 4th release. I'm releasing one song at a time right now. Instead of doing an album, it's more of a rolling magazine style, kind of like Lorenzo's trying something new here. I think that releasing songs one at a time, kind of going back to how it all started, at least in the 60s with the Beatles and everything. It was a singles market then. I think in terms of the internet and the way people consume media now, it might make more sense. But I have 3 out so far. If anyone's interested, it's on the music.thegreatorder.com. You can, from there, get to all my links and the different music platforms they're on. But What's in Us, this upcoming one, a little different. It's a little bit more keyboard-based. I'm primarily a guitar player. A little more of a danceable beat and sing-along chorus. And it's definitely about what's going on now. Lorenzo, we've talked about the convergence of awakenings. And I think that that's what's bringing together, whether it's the people up on the screen or the people listening. I think that's what's bringing together people at an event like today, is that certain of us might have certain interests in one area, certain interests in another area. But what bonds us is we're all questioning what we're being spoon-fed in the mainstream narrative. We know that there's agendas. We know that there's powers that be trying to corral us into these different extreme measures and get people at each other's throats. So this song kind of speaks to that. I don't like to do anything too obvious. Obviously, that's the whole nature of poetry and lyrics. But I'll just quickly, as I said, I know I'm new to people, and I understand if you don't know who this guy Jared is, it's there's a certain degree of why do I care? So I'll just give you, for anyone that might care, or this gives a little taste, I'm going to read the second verse. I think it'll give you an idea of what the song's like. And then Lorenzo, we can just chat a little bit about the themes and maybe return to some of the stuff we've spoken about in the first 2 interviews you published on your YouTube recently. But here's the verse 2 of What's in Us. Snakes are chasing off their tails as leeches are increasing sales. It's hard to tell who loves for real when everything's about the deal. I know that some have open eyes. I cannot hate who fall for lies. But ask yourself now, who do you follow? But who do they follow? And the chorus goes on to something like, we're not afraid at all. They're not going to take what's in us. We're going to make the call. They don't know what's still left in us. Hence the song being called What's in Us. But those are some of the lyrics. But Lorenzo, how are you? And what would you like to talk about?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. That's great. I think pretty much it describes a lot of what we've been sharing here. It's like, where are they getting their information from? And they just want to take a moment to say when Jared's ready with the song, I hope we can release it for you. And then you can see the live video. We'll put our links below, and we'll make it very obvious on our homepage as well. So don't be disappointed if you don't get to hear it today. Jared said he's going to be doing some finessing anyways to make a final version, if I'm not mistaken. He kind of maybe fast released it a little bit to perhaps get it out today. So a little bit longer, and we'll get to see his finessed version of the song, how it's meant to be and how he wishes to release it to the public. And I'm happy to share it on our website and allow you to come back for more later to see that. And as Jared had mentioned, we did a long interview, which we just put up yesterday, called Levels of Legacy. We talked for almost an hour and a half there. So if anybody wants to go to our homepage, newagora.ca, after the event, I put a square up top left, very easy to find. And, you can see a lot of the topics that we've talked about in great depth. But Jared, I think, sharing music and sharing poetry, at my heart, I love writing poetry as well, is one other way that you can perhaps get some of the ideas off your chest, off your heart, and out into public without pointing fingers and screaming, but, just giving an alternative perspective to how you see things developing in the world out there.
Yeah, a lot's been done via culture and media, and that's the ground on which we have to take things back largely, I believe.
How did you get into music? It's true. I reached out to you a year and a half ago. I liked what you were presenting on, being independent, the importance of boundaries, the importance of growing, a healthy community, a healthy respect for where you came from and where you're going. How did you, turn from what could have been seen as somewhat of an activist towards maybe you've been a musician forever, and now you're just getting it out more. But how did you decide and choose that direction for your particular way to share the message?
It's more the latter, what you said. I was really a musician first, and I always knew that it would play a role. But a few years ago, it seemed, I'm sure a lot of people can relate, it seemed a lot was going on in the middle of the last decade, 2015, 2016. I've never been a particularly political person, but there was just, it was like a funnel of things kind of spiraling, and you couldn't ignore a lot of things, a lot of agendas, a lot of divides that were going on at the time. Just to back up for a quick minute, actually interesting too, and I'm curious to hear your take on this or anyone else in the chat, is like you, I started in, I know it's a vague term, but more with spiritual interests, and those were the kinds of things that I was ingesting and reading about in the first part of that decade, say 2010, when I was a little younger. And you heard a lot about the whole 2012 thing at the time. I'm sure you remember that. And I, like most people, I think I didn't believe the world was literally going to end at the end of 2012. But there was this talk of awakenings and consciousness, and I kind of just kept an open mind, and that was in the back of my mind. But I remember speaking to a few people around that era who told me that if you looked into that in a little more detail, they saw it where the changes and really what we're still seeing now, definitely and living in the throes of I guess the falling of the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain, how you couldn't really hide anymore, and a lot was going to be exposed, and people with nasty agendas were going to accelerate things, and it might be messy, but we'd eventually see what's going on. They told me, if anything, that would be really kicking into high gear more in the middle of the decade, in 2015 and 2016. And it turns out that those people that I spoke to seem to be in touch with something, because that's how it seemed to go. So in the wake of that, in late 2017, I started thegreatorder.com, and it didn't feature music, but I had been a musician for a lot of my life, writing songs, interest in music since I was a little kid. My parents just playing records for me and being music lovers. So it wasn't really the right time. I didn't really have a band. I didn't know how I would do it alone, but slowly but surely figured out recording software and how to work with some remote musicians and things like that. And I still play most of the instruments, but it's only in the end of 2020, very recently, a little over the last half year, have I really incorporated music under my Great Order banner. And I'm using the name The Great Order as a de facto band name, the way some guys, instead of using their name, they use a band name, even though people know it's their project, their pet project. So even though it's the last thing, I'd work in other media and write, as mentioned, but even though it's the last thing to join the umbrella of the Great Order, music, being a recording artist, writing music is really my main passion, and really how I know how to and want to contribute going forward.
Once again, another way that you can share. There's so many ways that you can get your ideas across, your ideals. Usually it's out of the box. Usually it's through your inspiration. I mean, you got to have a certain set of courageous feelings before, you're going to make yourself live. You're going to play your music. You're going to get out there. You're going to share. You're going to promote. And, Jared has certainly put himself out there in his ability to, if anybody's interested in his last song, which is amazing, is also there for the viewing on our website. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about where you're going, what you're doing next, and what you'd like to share down the road with our viewers and on your own projects.
It's really just pedal to the metal with music, and I write in a variety of styles, but it kind of centers around, it's rock based but updated for now. I use a lot of synths as well, but I try to make it warm and not too cold and brittle. I think a lot of popular music production now sounds a little too cold and brittle. So I like combining. I always like combining things. So it's a little bit of something classic and archaic with a little bit of something forward-looking and futuristic as well. Some songs are full productions, and some are more stripped down, acoustic guitar and a little bit of synth colors and things like that. But it's just going to be music and continuing to do what I can do to show up. We talked about that. It's not getting up here to say I have answers. I'm an artist, so temperamentally I'm better at asking questions. But I think it's just there's an energy. Look, there's a lot of bleak stuff going on. I have some friends and I see some messages. We know it's going down with stricter measures. Have some friends in European countries that are pretty worried right now. And we always ask, what can we do? And people feel helpless. And you can feel that despair when you're trying to answer that question from a perspective of things you can address. I know it's overwhelming, but I'll just leave people with thinking that it's you have to look at what you can address. And most of the time that's local and that's what's around you. It's not going to feel earth-shattering maybe, but that is where the power is in whatever talents you have or the friends and family, the community that you're in. So I try to do that in my personal life, and then in my online life, there's the music, and then there's some communities that I'm part of, things like this, and addressing the lies and the agenda and all that going on, trying to be more balanced, as we've spoken about as well. I'm a man of European descent, so there's a degree of just being a man of the West, and that's ours to steward. If it's not anyone else's to steward, that's where I get into boundaries. There's levels and layers of boundaries. So I've seen some strange attacks on my heritage as well. And so a lot of my work and advocacy has been in that direction as well, but in a very, very, very different way than, again, the media would tell you. That's where we get into the agendas, that the whole thing is, if you care about that, you're somehow a troglodyte or a caveman. And I'm an artist who's from a big city on the East Coast of the US. On paper, I should be one of these woke, quote unquote, funny that term, right? But these woke, very anti-Western, quote, progressives. But I'm very much not that. And so I've always kind of had one foot in one area and one foot in the other, kind of treading different things. I'm sure you could relate to that too. I think we've talked a little bit about that, being a communicator, having that Mercury energy. So I try to bridge things and understand different sides and harmonize things. But there comes a time when you do have to draw a line in the sand and draw some boundaries and say, the world is beautiful because there's boundaries. Those don't always have to be walls, but it's more doors. Doors open and doors close. So there's a time for openness. There's a time for boundaries. We've talked, if anyone's interested, Lorenzo and I got more deeply into that on the longer form interview that we did, that he just published on his YouTube yesterday on the New Now. But there's boundaries on all levels, from your family, your romantic relationships, your community, and as I'm saying, your heritage as well. I'm a man of European descent, so I don't really see any reason to be ashamed of that or apologize about that. It's not the only part of my identity, but it is part of my identity. It's part of being a human being is boundaries, and you can't be all things at all times. I mean, I'm an artist. I tended more in that direction when I was younger, but you come to a point where you realize the beauty of being a life on earth, as challenging and strange and confusing as it is. We try to suss out the beauty as well, right? I think that's what we're here for. Something like this, suss out the beauty and the harmony and what's good about it and the love. Again, as I keep coming back to, meaning and boundaries and love are all tied together. So there comes a time when you have to take a stand and say, no, this means something, and there's an agenda here, and we're being set in each other's throats because we're getting all of these lopsided narratives. So that's what I showed up to lend my voice to. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that more. And again, I know we spoke a lot about that when we had our chance to have our long interview.
I think it's important. Show up and share beauty. whether it's music or poetry or painting or dance or books or writing. If you get out there and you do what you feel like doing and you make it an honest effort towards, if you can be a bad singer, you can be a bad writer, you can, I'm talking about myself, but you can be good at maybe bringing people together that are good singers and good writers. You can be a humorist, right? You can be a comedian. There's all kinds of ways to stand up and be.
Yeah, that's one thing that gets lost. I get on these live streams and have all these serious conversations, and it's like, I got to remind myself sometimes, I grew up with a great group of friends, and I spent half of my childhood and adolescence just laughing. And I think part of it was, I don't know if you can relate to this, Lorenzo. I'd love to hear for a second, or anyone in the chat. I think that was a subconscious way of kind of pushing off the programming. I remember going to a movie theater when I was a kid, and they used to play, I don't know if they still do, I don't even go to the movies anymore. They used to play commercials before the movie would start. And there was this dramatic ad for a cell phone, as if it's this life-changing experience that this new cell phone is out. And the little jokester, trickster in me, I wasn't a bad kid or anything, but there was always that instinct to kind of push back against stuff like that, the rampant consumerism and the shallowness that we see, unfortunately, in mainstream culture. And at a pause in the commercial, at a key moment, I said, so the whole theater heard me, "It's just a cell phone." My friends cracked up, and they talked about it later. But we did all kinds of things like that as kids. And I think those little moments, it's a silly little anecdote, but it's an example of the humor and it being this subconscious way to kind of put off the programming. I saw a meme too. I don't know if any of you have seen this, where the meme said something, the text over the image said something like, I'm starting to realize that those of us who drifted off in school, maybe it was this kind of psychic immune system way of ignoring the programming. And, now that we're adults and we're looking at everything going on, you start to put two and two together and say, that's interesting. I am seeing in the chat, someone mentioned 432 music. Yes, my music, I don't tune to 440. Anyone that knows about that. Sometimes to 444, but more often to 432, those more natural frequencies. So happy to talk more about that at another time, but thank you for mentioning that. The person in the chat who mentioned that, I do tune my music a little differently for reasons that I'm sure a lot of you guys here would appreciate. But Lorenzo, I wanted to hear, because I know you're a bit of a trickster yourself, what your thoughts on the humor and kind of it being a defense mechanism.
I get in trouble almost all the time from my wife walking around Japan because, I find the humor in seeing mothers with their babies, but looking on their cell phone, or carrying them in the front, and then, at the park, and, where they're pushing their kids with one hand and looking at their cell phone on the other hand, or let's say rather obese people walking around with their masks, like trying to be healthy in their breathing. And, I've always wondered if the mask maybe stop people from putting too much food in their mouth, maybe they'd be more helpful than stopping a so-called invisible virus that probably isn't going to bother anybody anyway. So, for myself, I have found humor, appropriate and inappropriate at times to be, as you said, a shield towards the world and what's going on. I have to make sure that, I'm not too inappropriate because, I do find most of what's going on hilarious from a gallows humorous sort of way.
Sure.
Because when I'm on the train here and everyone's in their cell phones, I will look over shoulders to see what they're looking at, even though that's supposedly super rude. Where I am, just, to see the video games being played or the inane videos they're watching and kind of wondering what people are distracting themselves with.
Sure.
I kind of find that to be a way that I get out of my own head of getting angry. Like, let's say you're angry with someone that's on a cell phone by their baby's head, which happens to me, or you're angry that, people are not really paying attention to the world around them and bumping into you because they're too busy, chatting or texting while they're walking by you. And I used to get angry at these things, but, I found I'm just basically harming myself when I put stress in my body. So, So I've moved to the humorous way of mocking people. Let's say, well, obviously I don't have a cell phone in my hand when I'm mock texting, but for me, that's been my way all the time, not to allow the pain to get through to me. And, I have to be careful not to fall into that as a trap to miss what's going on in the world, because I will use that as an indulgence at times, or I have where I miss my own opportunities for growing up and being strong. But, Yeah, I mean, who hasn't loved a good comedian? And you know, for some, it's the only way that political discourse at the time really gets shared out in a wider audience is to kind of make fun through a safer venue. You know, the shenanigans of the day, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah, you reminded me. You used a word in a private message a few weeks back, sacred clown. That you like that term, sacred clown. So I hear
think
that
it's
with
my
what you're
role
saying.
here. You know, yeah, I mean, it's so important to be, in a way. I mean, I've had this discussion before. It's like, why do people like sitcoms so much when I used to? Why do people like these kind of shows, or they get glued to the TV? And, you know, I've done a little bit of studies for that myself. And you know, why are they so funny? And I would say basically it's just the people I was attracted to, or you seem to be attracted to in the sitcoms, are simply being honest in whatever situation they seem to find themselves in, even if it's inappropriate. And I would say especially if it's inappropriate, you know, whether it's over sexual or over humorous or over insulting or over whatever, you know, fill in your own blanks here. And, you know, why do you laugh at that? I've studied that a little bit. And I would say people laugh at that because perhaps they see in themselves something they would like to emulate. You know, something that if something is ridiculous at a family dinner, or a rude person, or an overweight person, or an over angry person, or over aggressive person, over sexualized person, you know, what have you, and you were honest with them instead of turning the other cheek, but you were honest in a way that wasn't aggressively painful, like you didn't punch anyone in the nose, but more of a way where you were sharing your feelings at the time. Well, I would think that could really diffuse a whole bunch of stupidity going on in the world.
Yeah, I would. The thing that it makes me think of when you're talking is revealing, and I guess that's where the comedy and the spirituality, the sacred clown, where it's the thing that unites those two things is the instinct, the desire to reveal, to get past the pretenses and to get to the core of what's going on in the situation. And so the person that wants to cut through in a very spiritual way, a truth seeker, or the kind of comedy, the humor that you're talking about, it's the same instinct. It's to let's get down to the truth of this. Let's get to the essence of this. And that, I think, can be very helpful. Unfortunately, I've seen in the little that I've kept attention on, you know, the popular media, it seems like comedy more and more over the last many years has increasingly just gone, like so many other things, to the basest levels of just trying to shock or offend just for the sake of it. But now they're in a weird spot where a lot of comedians are saying they don't have anything to talk about anymore because there's all of these pet issues and everyone's offended at something. You know, it's just that whole kind of masquerading as open-mindedness, but that very authoritarian, totalitarian control thing going on right now, coming back to bite itself in its own ass. You know, the chickens are coming home to roost. But yeah, that kind of humor that just tears down or just makes fun of people or just is being lewd for the sake of being lewd, that is, you know, I can't get behind that. I wouldn't think you would either. But the revealing aspect, that's what I was hearing of what you're saying. And, you know, that's a very healthy human instinct, and it's been with us always, forever. You know, look at plays from 2,000 years ago. That's what they were doing.
You have to be able to laugh at yourself to get over yourself. I figure that's something that's taken me years to figure out.
One of the best quotes I've heard, again, something I would imagine you and your core readership at New Agora probably or have already heard, is the fastest way to enlightenment is to lighten up.
Bingo. You know, I get challenged almost on a daily basis with things I need to get better with. Let's put it that way. Yeah, you know, due to the nature of the interactions I have, and perhaps it's why I chose this vocation, is I do get to talk with hundreds of people, you know, every week and see where my shortcomings are, you know, see where my limitations are, seeing where I'm taking life too serious. And, you know, even if I might get angry at the moment, if I sit back and I look at myself and I go, well, maybe there's some truth in the challenging whatever perspectives that are being forced or shared or put to me, it allows me to become a better man by realizing, you know, if you're at your core happy with yourself and you're at your core strong, you can take a ribbing, you can take being laughed at, you can take, you know, a poking in a wart or a poking in your ass if you need to lose a few pounds or poking your perspective if it's maybe a bit limited and not so loving, and allow that to inform your next day, and then you get to be a better person. And as you said, laughing, lighting, you lighten up, makes you feel better. That's for sure.
Yeah, we need those ways to sharpen each other, but yeah, you can do it through humor, so it's not as painful. But you're right, if you're comfortable with yourself, you can take those critiques. When we're talking about it, I see people in the chat talking about this. When we're talking about the control agendas and the agendas we see in the mainstream and the speech codes and the ways they clearly want to shape our language and our thoughts, there's so much projection going on right now. I see people just get very concerned about, what other people are eating or what their exact beliefs are, or any number of things. And if you're comfortable with yourself, it's the hallmark that I notice when people are comfortable with themselves. It's more an openness where the approach is, oh, okay, like you have a different diet than me. Well, how does that work for you? Why'd you do that? It's not like, oh, tell me about your diet so that I can critique it and tell you why you're wrong and that kind of thing. It's everyone's getting on these teams, these little like micro banners that they all have to fly under. I think it's a question of identity too. Maybe people don't feel that core. They need to latch onto an identity. So we live in this very consumeristic culture, and we think that instead of organic identities and getting it straight from our essence and where we come from and who we are at the deepest levels, we think that we can just kind of pick identities off the shelf. Like today I'll be this, tomorrow I'll be that. Just like you can, you post something on social media with a certain cause or take a picture of yourself in a certain light on Instagram, and then all of a sudden, well, that's your identity. That's what you're projecting into the world. And it's a dangerous thing. I think I pray for people and try to help where I can, that more people get in touch with their core again. Because I think a lot of people don't. It's obvious that they're not in touch with that right now. And so they're kind of flailing about. They don't feel grounded. They don't feel centered. They don't know who they are. As you said, any little poke, any little scratch, and they bite back at you. They get very upset. They project things out. If you don't have it's a survival mechanism. It's a very low vibration thing, though. If you don't have the exact same beliefs I have, the exact same worldview that I have, then there's this survival mechanism that's triggered. It's almost like they feel like they're not safe around people that are a little bit different than them, and really attack back. And social media amplifies that. Social media, I know it's easy to pick it apart. It is wonderful in a lot of ways. I have made true valid connections through it, and I'm a communicator. It is a form of communication, and it is an interesting thing. And I do try to look on the bright side, but God, does it emphasize all of this crap as well?
It's too easy to hide behind a pseudonym and share something without being face to face with your accuser, and to get that feeling, to look in their eyes, and
especially if they don't show their face. Yes.
I mean, anybody can type anything and hide and run away. It's just when you feel the energy of the person you're talking with, whether you're sharing something good, bad, loving, it's of course vastly different than even just seeing a video and watching your face. It's vastly different than just typing an email or a text. It gives a visceral feeling of things. It's
in those cases, it's no accountability. They have no accountability, and the ugliest parts of themselves come out. And we're all capable of it. You have to look at yourself. You have to look at yourself and say, what part of me still has that reaction? What part of me is still in that level of consciousness? Like, why is this being reflected back to me? And that's where it takes a lot of patience, and there's some days we're better at this than others. But that's where you have to get into just forgiving people and understanding that people are, I think they're doing what they can from the level that they're currently at. And it's a challenge to always try to keep that perspective. But the more conscious you become, it's a freedom, but at the same time, it's a great responsibility to keep that in mind. Keep yourself on the straight and narrow, remembering you have to remain humble and patient as well when you get these slings and arrows thrown at you, especially when you come out on social media and or do what we do and kind of show your name and face, and people project a lot of things onto you. For
sure. Well, Jared, we're coming to the end of our time here. We're going to be introducing Jeanice Barcelo from Birth of a New Youth very shortly. Jared, perhaps you could graciously allow us in our next presentation, maybe your video will be ready when we're ready to go again in a couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be delighted to share that with everyone. I have to be honest, I'm a little sad that I didn't get to, but I'm also happy to see Jared's full video when it's ready to go and rocking, and he can stand proud behind what he gets to share with everyone here. Jared, thank you so much for joining us. Anything you care to leave our viewers with?
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it, and I tried to interact with the chat a couple times. And for anyone interested, my site's thegreatorder.com. Everything goes through there. If you want to email me, my email is hello@thegreatorder.com. And Lorenzo, I know we're in pretty constant contact now, so I'll keep you posted and premiere the video with you for the new song, What's in Us. Very timely about what's going on right now. Just look out for that soon. Everyone check the new Agora's social media and website. I know Lorenzo will very graciously be sharing that new song. And if you have any feedback or want to share it around, it's a kind of thing that I think is ripe to go viral this summer. Then let me know. Let me know, reach out. Let me know how you can help or how I can help you.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Jared. I appreciate your time here. I'm looking forward to doing more. Once again, for everyone who wants to see the more detailed interview we did, it went almost to an hour and a half. We put it up on newagora.ca. Underneath that video are all of Jared's links if you want to follow through and see with him some more as well. thegreatorder.com. You can find all of his great music, all of his writings, and much more besides. And we are sure to bring you more as we're inspired to do so. Jared, thank you so much for joining us. I'm hoping to talk with you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, so now I am going to be bringing Jeanice Barcelo from Birth of a New Earth onto the stage. And this should be a very interesting chat coming on. We are going to discuss a man's role in happy, healthy children from preconception to further on, but she'll probably be able to say it much better than I can. Jeanice, you're a bit muted over there.
All right. Hi.
I'm so happy to see you.
To be here for this new experience, Lorenzo. Thank you. And I was hoping more people would show up in the audience here, but we've got to get this going. So hopefully this kind of event will move things forward.
I hear you.
I was going to talk about parenting today. Hi, RM. But people in the chat have brought up the topic of wireless radiation. And I would be really happy to carry forward with that conversation. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if you want to mute yourself.
Okay, I'm going to take a short break and I'll be back, but please continue on with what you wish to talk about. The wireless is obviously a topic that a lot of our people are interested in. So I'll be back in 1 minute. Please take it away, Jeanice.
Okay, we'll see if that, oh good, that does quiet the feedback. So to the people in the audience who are talking about shungite and orgonite and using these stones to help protect us against radiation, I want people to understand that, let's say I was wearing a shungite pendant here around my neck. What would happen is that the frequencies, the radiation would hit the pendant and bounce off the pendant, but the rest of my body will still be getting hit with the radiation. This is why it's very, very deceiving to say that we can protect ourselves with shungite, because it's not going to work. And the same thing goes for orgonite. Orgonite may be able to shift energies around us in general, but when you take a radiation meter, a meter that measures the levels of radiation around an orgonite pendant, you will see that if you remove the orgonite, the radiation levels are exactly the same when you reintroduce the orgonite, which means that your body is going to be getting hit with the radiation despite the orgonite being there. So what might happen with various devices like blue shield devices and devices that claim to be changing things in our biology, we may actually feel better while we're getting hit with the radiation. But the damage, the biological damage, is still going to occur. And this is very important for people to understand. If you want to protect yourself from wireless radiation, there's two ways to do that. You can do that with proper shielding. For example, I'm sitting in a Faraday canopy right now. I'm surrounded on all sides by shielding, by it's silver-coated shielding. So the radiation will hit the shielding and bounce off it. It won't come inside this space. Or you can wire everything through Ethernet cords, which is something else that I've done. I never use Wi-Fi at all. I would never bring a device up on my lap with Wi-Fi or hold a cell phone to my head. I don't own a cell phone anymore because I have the belief that they're going to be targeting people through the phones. They're going to do something with the frequencies that will affect people in a very, very deep way. What Erica is saying is that it's very important because these wireless frequencies are counterproductive to life. They're actually Luciferian. And when we use these devices, demonic energies can ride in on these waves. And that is what's happening. So if we understand the danger, then we'll choose to avoid wireless energies. So Erica, you're right. There are demonic energies that are being invited into this world through the use of wireless devices. I don't think orgonite is going to protect us from the demonic energies, but I guess if you believe it, maybe that will help. I do think it's much better to reject the wireless energies altogether, to wire your devices, get a corded telephone, yes, get corded internet, Ethernet connected internet, get rid of the phones. If you must use a cell phone, dump the iPhone and get a 3G flip phone so that you're not being pummeled with pulsed frequencies all day that are going to attack your biology. And one other quick thing that you can do to protect yourself that everybody can do is turn off all wireless devices while you are sleeping. Everything should be unplugged and turned off. Putting a phone on airplane mode will not work. It will not protect you because the phone will still be pulsing all night long. So you must turn them off, put them in another room, unplug smart TVs, smart appliances, cordless phones, everything that's wireless that you have plugged in, everything that's smart needs to be unplugged so that you could sleep in a clean environment and your body can heal itself from the radiation damage. It will try to heal itself during sleep, but you cannot heal yourself if you're chronically exposed to wireless radiation. So it's very important to turn everything off at night until you can get your corded telephone, get your corded internet, get rid of everything and get everything wired and protect yourselves. No baby monitors, please, by your infants. This is extremely, extremely harmful. So there's many things I could tell you. I've written a book on this topic. It's called Are Wireless Devices Really Safe? And you can get that book on Amazon. You can get that book on my website at Birth of a New Earth, birthofanewearth.com. So please learn about this so that you can protect yourselves and your children, because this is their greatest weapon against us. There's no question about this. So protect yourselves if you want to make it through to the other side. Thank you, Lorenzo, for letting me speak to this issue that everybody has decided to bring up in the chat.
For sure, it's very important. You know, I can't go anywhere near a cell phone without it negatively affecting my energy levels. I get an immediate headache. I don't care how many stickers or EMF blockers or whatever on it. You know, that's just me. I'm super sensitive. Or if I get too close to someone chatting, I can feel it. So, it's even just lowering your vibration, whether you believe in genies or evil entities or demons coming through this or not, even from an energetic standpoint, and I can understand all of those perspectives being shared because I've had those experiences too. If your energy is lowered, you're less healthy, you're less energetic, you're less strong, and then you are immediately apt to make less intelligent choices for your life.
Also, the reason people get headaches is because our blood vessels constrict immediately when we're exposed to these alien frequencies. These are frequencies that were never intended to be on the earth. Microwaves were never intended to be on the earth. Okay, so our blood vessels constrict. The oxygen in the brain that goes to the brain is limited. So we get headaches. Eventually, we'll have a stroke if we do not attend to this issue. Okay, people have heart irregularities, arrhythmias, tachycardia, bradycardia, where their heartbeat's very slow. People can be bringing themselves close to death because of these pulsed microwaves that are designed to attack the neurology, to attack the biology, to attack our capacity to receive transmissions from source. They're interfering constantly with our ability to receive what we're supposed to receive and to transmit the good that's coming from a benevolent source. So it is satanic. This is a satanic technology designed to destroy us. So let us be aware of that and do what we can to learn about it. Please visit my website at radiationdangers.com to learn more. And speaking of elephant in the room, ultrasound is another problem because all of our devices are emitting ultrasound. Ultrasound is a combination of both wireless radiation and acoustic radiation. So we're getting hit double whammy through ultrasonic frequencies. And our developing babies are under assault by the medical establishment through ultrasonic radiation and other forms of medical radiation. And that's on top of the wireless radiation that the parents are exposing their children to. This is a very, very, very critically important issue. I've also written a book about ultrasound called The Dark Side of Prenatal Ultrasound, which you can find on my website at birthofanewearth.com. I have several websites. I have several things that I can discuss today. I was going to talk about fathers. I was going to talk about the way the medical establishment has usurped the father's role during childbearing. But one of the things that fathers can do immediately to reclaim their power is to protect themselves, their beloved, and their babies and children from wireless radiation and ultrasonic radiation. So I have couples that come to me to work with me throughout pregnancy to learn how to give birth gently. And whenever I see a father attend to this wireless radiation issue, I just know that I am in the presence of a powerful man who is going to succeed in protecting his wife and his children from this very damaging influence. And I'm pleased to see this every time I see a man step forward to deal with this issue. It's one of the most uplifting things for me to witness. Anyway, I'll leave it to you, Lorenzo, to take it to the next place, wherever we want to go.
No, that's a good way of putting it. We just started this discussion a couple hours ago on being a warrior, what that can mean. And, obviously keeping your family healthy, looking out for what could be damaging, your immediate environment is really much a part of that. And it doesn't always come in the face of, a 300-pound muscled guy with 2 axes and some shurikens in his back pocket, right? Or a tiger sneaking into your back door to eat your children or your wife or what have you. A lot of times it's an invisible or so-called invisible attack, which could be an idea, could be a meme, Could be a viral, energetic, something that's, mind control that gets played over and over on TV. And definitely something related to, wireless information is certainly important to figure out for yourself. Now, how would you say, let's say, because I do talk to people about this and they can't feel the difference. Like I can feel it immediately. Like how would somebody maybe test themselves, shall we say, to sensitize that? Because I see people with cell phones all the time. I see people walking down the street with 2 cell phones. I get on the train here in Japan and everyone's got a cell phone. It makes me crazy after a little while. I can only take short trips before my head starts to hurt, and I do avoid the subway when I can because of that. How would you say if someone wants to be able to start to tell the difference and study it, they can begin that process for themselves?
Yeah, if you could mute yourself, that would, oh good, there's no feedback then. So what I can say is most people are already experiencing symptoms of exposure to radiation that will take them down eventually, but they have not made the connection between the radiation from their devices and the symptoms. So if you notice that you're having trouble sleeping, if you notice that you're experiencing what's called tinnitus, it's not tinnitus, you're actually hearing either the ultrasonic frequencies or the microwave frequencies that you're being exposed to chronically through your devices. Millions of people can hear them. So trouble sleeping, tinnitus, heart problems, headaches, okay, muscle cramps, short-term memory, like you can't remember what you wanted to say just a minute ago. Your brain is being damaged, literally, by the radiation, and you're losing your memory. You may experience respiratory problems. You may experience digestive problems. You may have thyroid issues, which is how I started experiencing health problems with my thyroid within 1.5 years of using Wi-Fi. Now I can look back and I understand it was the Wi-Fi that brought on my hyperthyroid condition. Yeah. It also brought on a myriad other symptoms that completely took me down. The flu. If all of a sudden you're getting the flu, and especially if you're getting the flu several times a year, and you've never had issues with the flu before, you should know that the flu and microwave radiation sickness are the same. They share the exact same symptoms. Of course, what's being called COVID, all of the symptoms being blamed by a virus, a non-existent virus called COVID, are actually symptoms of radiation poisoning, radiation sickness. And I've written an article about this on my Radiation Dangers website. It's called, Is the Coronavirus a Cover-Up? Or Is COVID a Cover-Up for Radiation Sickness? With a tremendous amount of documentation to back up what I am saying. They are covering up the health issues that are occurring from exposure to wireless radiation by blaming it on a virus. It is not a virus. Viruses are actually something that our body creates when our bodies are under stress. It's a way for the body to heal itself. That's what viruses are, a natural part of our immune system. They are not harmful. They are there to help us heal from what is occurring in our environment. But we ourselves can help ourselves heal by attending to this issue. This is the most important issue of our time. They're going to take people out, especially people who've been vaccinated, because the vaccines apparently contain some kind of chip where you're going to build an operating system in your body, literally, that will respond to microwave signals. People that have been vaccinated can actually be controlled through what's been injected into them. And if you don't believe me, look up crimson mist. Okay, look up what that is, how the governments have used these frequencies in the past to trigger rage and various other things. This may actually be what's happened in South Africa. They may have used the towers, the phones, and people that are vaccinated, that have the microwave operating system, to trigger what went down in South Africa over the past 2 weeks. So we've got to be aware of this. And yes, 5G, not just 5G, 3G, 4G, 5G, all Gs are going to boost the level of parasites in the body and on your house. All of a sudden, you may notice that your house has mold, where your whole neighborhood may be becoming moldy, where that's never occurred before. This is what happens on Long Island right now. Entire neighborhoods are covered with mold from the intense levels of radiation, which will allow parasites to proliferate both inside the body and outside the body. Why are they proliferating? Because they're reproducing to survive. They're upping the levels to save themselves. That's what parasites are doing in the face of this assault. All right, as far as our fertility goes, it's tanking. Okay, human fertility is in the gutter right now. In the United States, we are experiencing the lowest birth rate ever, since they first started measuring this in 1909. I can put a link to the Crimson Mist thing, okay, so that people understand. Hang on one second. I'm going to put this in the chat, folks. I encourage people to go to this link and read about Crimson Mist, what they've done with these frequencies, and what they're probably going to do all around the globe.
I mean, it's very interesting to see, you know, from the perspective of what you can do, how you can grow, you know, how you can be alive, how you can be your own hero, how you can be a warrior. And it's very important also to see the challenges that you have. You know, I know for myself, when I feel low energy or attacked internally, or I have crazy thoughts in my head that who knows where they're coming from, you know, a lot of it is related to, you know, these microwaves and 5Gs and what have yous that are floating around. And even by understanding them and seeing what a lot of what Jeanice has shared, and, you know, I've been watching her videos and her information for years and years and years, even before we met. You know, it allowed me the opportunity to be more aware of the challenges out there, which has allowed me to keep an eye on them, so that even when I'm feeling the attack from the parasites or the energies, and I do feel it every day, I don't allow that to, let's say, inform my decisions. I still keep myself heart-centered and loving. And, you know, and even if you are challenged, it gives you more of an opportunity, a leg up, so to speak. If you know what's bothering you, or you know what's weakening you, you know, you can take and make efforts to alleviate that for yourself.
Very, very important. You can buy shielded clothing. For example, if I go out, I put a shielded hat on to protect my brain. I put a shielded shirt on to protect my heart. If you're getting on a plane or something, you should wear shielded socks, gloves, long sleeve shirt, pants, everything. You should shield yourself, especially when you're in a Faraday cage like a plane. So it's very important to understand this issue. And yes, if you want to be a warrior, don't panic if you don't know how to do this, because you can so easily learn. For example, if you have to have Wi-Fi, you can buy a piece of this shielding for under $100 and wrap it around the Wi-Fi router to lower the levels of radiation. Most Wi-Fi routers have an Ethernet port in them or in the back of them, so you can plug in the Ethernet port, run that Ethernet cable directly into your computer, and turn the Wi-Fi off on your computer, and turn the Bluetooth off on your computer. Okay, all of these things can be done, and it doesn't cost a whole lot of money. And it's easy to do, especially if you decide to make an appointment with somebody like me, and I can walk you through how to make the changes in your home to protect yourself and your children. Again, please visit my website at birthofanewearth.com. And also visit my radiation website, Radiation Dangers, to learn about this stuff. You know, to learn, even read my story on the radiation website, because I did almost die from this. It's not a joke. This is very, very serious, how quickly it can take people down. But if you want to be a warrior, guys, If you want to be a warrior, this is one way you can do it. You can be like, I'm going to get on this issue like today. I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect my children, my wife, everybody I care about, and also the environment. Bees are dropping dead, people. This is our food supply. The birds are falling dead out of the sky, literally screaming, bleeding from their eyes, blind, all over Washington, D.C., where they activated 5G. Birds are dying and going blind. And how horrid is this? That this is happening in our world and that we're participating, that we've become so tricked by the dark forces that we can't walk from our car to the mailbox without this thing attached to our hands and our heads. What has happened to us? We have to stop. Smash the goddamn iPhones. Get yourself a 3G flip phone if you must. Better yet, get yourself a wired landline and make calls. I use Skype. Yes, I have a Skype phone number on a wired computer. I'm not available 24/7. Tough. If people want to reach me, they will reach me. People can leave a message at my Skype number. That's how I stay connected. I gave up the phone because I know it's a weapon, my friends. It's designed to kill you, to kill your children, to kill all living things. Let us cease from participating in their agenda. Let's not contribute.
It's a very good way to leave this, Jeanice. I guess we're coming to the end of our time here. You know, I'm a little sad that we didn't get a chance to talk about a man's role. On the other hand, I'm thinking we're going to have some more focused events coming up where one will be families, how to have better families. We'll invite some, maybe David will come on and talk about unschooling or homeschooling. Erica's a new lady working with us. You know, she's raising her new son in a very unique, effective, and warrior-like way. And taking a lot of the precautions that you've mentioned, of course. You know, we've had some chats over the last couple of days, and then we can discuss a man's role. But in the meantime, Jeanice does have a new workshop coming up in August. Maybe want to leave our readers with a bit of information about that, how they can join, how they can see, and how they can participate if they wish.
I have a workshop about the father's role during the childbearing year, because again, I realized that fathers have been relegated to the sidelines during pregnancy and childbirth, and medical doctors have kind of stepped in as primary care provider and also presented themselves as if they are the be-all important person during childbirth, and they've totally usurped the father's role, which is undermining marriages. Basically, it is contributing to a breakdown in family love when fathers are not able to fulfill their part during conception, gestation, and birth and parenting. So I have a 3-week course. It's 6 hours altogether, 2 hours each time that we meet, on the father's role during the childbearing year. Part of that course will be designed to educate fathers about how to make changes in their home regarding the radiation issue. And it's really for anybody that wants to understand the father's role, because our society has so moved away from that. And actually, the father's role could be more important than the mother's role, because the mother is giving birth to the biological body of the child, but the father is responsible for the spiritual consciousness of that child and his awareness of his importance, and his spiritual consciousness is critical during conception and gestation. And this is important for people to be aware of. Again, please go to my website, birthofanewearth.com. Look at the fathering program. I have a 20-week parenting program that starts in September that I teach for anybody, but it has its best effect for people to participate pre-conception. Understanding things before we conceive children is the ideal case scenario. Let us do some preconception preparation. If we're interested to have children, there's so much we can do to change everything in one generation by how we bring children into this world. So that's part of my work, and I love you all. Thank you, Lorenzo, for this platform, and thank you for your appreciation of what I'm doing.
I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you get to share this. I'm so happy to do more. Jeanice and I have a tentative appointment to talk in early August about her fathering parenting program. We'll put a video up more than likely before we do our next event, so that'll give you an opportunity to go into more depth. Jeanice's spot is in our new now Agora. So if you're missing anything she shared here now, you can go there. You can watch the video introduction we did, and all of her links are below as well if you want to reach out to her. And by all means, please support what she's doing. Please share. Please, you know, there's not so many people I've seen in this world that have been daring enough to get off their asses and share the hard information. It's why I started watching Jeanice's stuff years and years ago. And I have to say, if you're persistent, I tried to get a hold of her for many years before miraculously we finally connected not so long ago. You know, maybe about a year ago, we started communicating directly. And then here we are getting it out together, helping each other along. She's helped us quite a bit here. Please help her as she's helped us. Jeanice, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to doing more with you very soon.
My pleasure. Thanks, everybody.